Second edition of Saturday night's main event from San Antonio, Texas was a successful one, of course, unless you were listening on NBC the first 5 minutes of the broadcast, as it was in both English and Spanish. Very annoying. But we kicked off, to my surprise, a little bit with the Women's World Championship match, considering it was the only women's match on the card. I thought they'd push it down a little bit on the card. But this was a match that we saw, and they alluded to it in Perth, Australia last year at Elimination Chamber between Mommy, the Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley, and the Irresistible Force. A more pissed off, if possible, than usual Nia Jax because of the way she lost her WWE Women's Championship over on the Blue Brand to Tiffany Stratton on the first 3 hour SmackDown via that Money in the Bank cash in. Now Nia Jax is so desperate to get a championship back. She's going after Rhea Ripley on Monday nights. She's going to enter the Royal Rumble. She wants both championships. And she was very physical with Rhea Ripley in this match. Obviously, just a devastating annihilator, but Ripley was able to kick out of it. Rhea was able to hit a code red balancing off the top rope. She really put all her acrobatics into this contest, and she was able to lift up Nia Jax with one big old riptide for the 1, 2, 3. Rhea Ripley retained the Women's World Championship. The next match, we had Jesse the Body Ventura on the call. It's always a treat to hear the former governor on the call. I think he's one of the last remaining true heel commentators in the professional wrestling business. But for whatever reason in this match, he was not rooting for the presumable heel in Braun Breaker. He was rooting for Sheamus, who we all know this was his 10th chance at the Intercontinental Championship. We know it is the one championship that has eluded Sheamus his entire career, and yet it keeps alluding to him. There was an incredible spot, excuse me, on the outside where Sheamus would go for an axe handle, and then Braun Breaker came down with a gigantic spear right to the heart. I thought they put over Braun Breaker's athleticism pretty incredibly in this matchup. Sheamus wound up hitting a bro kick, but then Braun Breaker was able to put his foot on the rope. Now, for whatever reason, Jesse the Body Ventura thought the referee had counted 3 and then saw Braun Breaker put his foot on the ropes. And you could tell Michael Cole and Pat McAfee were trying to diffuse the situation at ringside because I don't think that was planned on commentary. Jesse the Body Ventura was just calling it the way he saw it, which I think in theory is like, how can you see if a guy put his foot on the rope when you're watching the shoulders? It was kind of a weird coincidence. Sheamus ended up hitting Braun Breaker with a big knee, but it did not matter because Breaker recovered. And again, after a spear uh, off the steel steps in midair and ringside, Sheamus already had banged up ribs from his rivalry with Ludwig Kaiser during the past couple of months. And one more big vicious spear, and Braun Breaker retains the Intercontinental Championship, just as I had predicted. As I said in my preview last Thursday, I thought Braun Breaker could be going into WrestleMania 41 with the Intercontinental Championship. The unpredictable badass is poised for big breakout things. I believe in 2025, maybe even a Money in the Bank or a World Championship run. I think WWE sees big things in the future of Braun Breaker, and I do not think they wanted to take the championship off of him yet. Then we get to the contract signing between Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, the hometown San Antonio, Texas, Shawn Michaels for the ladder match for the Undisputed Championship. Now, I was a little bit surprised at the way this went because I thought there was an addendum, an amendment by Nick Aldis for the contract of the Royal Rumble. I was under the impression that they had already signed the contract for the Royal Rumble, and this was an amendment or an addendum, if you will, to that contract. But I don't know if that storyline had been dropped because they never mentioned it. Nonetheless, I did think Kevin Owens was going to give a package power driver to Shawn Michaels to HBK, get even more heat on him after taking out the American Nightmare. Well, he did attempt to do so. Shawn Michaels ended up, and again, I think this is for just sending the hometown crowd happy. They didn't want the hometown crowd bummed out because it was in the middle of the show to see HBK, their hometown hero, stretchered out. So Shawn Michaels ended up hitting Kevin Owens with a sweet chin music super kick. But I'll be honest with you, and I've said this, and we'll talk about this next week as we preview the Royal Rumble. But everything Kevin Owens has said about him battling the bloodline and, Roman Reigns taking 4 years of his career, and there's a difference between why Sami Zayn helped the bloodline and why Cody Rhodes helping the bloodline. And everything going on with Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens deserving to win that match at the first Saturday Night's main event, and Kevin Owens being the rightful WWE champion. I'll be honest, along with everything that Drew McIntyre has said over on the Red Brand, Kevin Owens has made a good case for himself over on the Blue Brand. And I know the IWC can be a toxic place sometimes. I totally understand it. But I think in this case, there's a lot of people in the IWC that want to see, rightfully, in my opinion, Kevin Owens win the Undisputed Championship, take the Winged Eagle Championship from Cody Rhodes officially at the Royal Rumble, and see, Randy Orton return, and maybe Randy Orton, instead of costing Kevin Owens the match, he cost Cody Rhodes the championship. And that's how we get to Orton Rhodes at WrestleMania 41. That is definitely a possibility. I am now even throwing the idea out there of what if Cody, because they have made it specific, and there might be a reason for this, that the winner of this ladder match has to grab both championship belts. What if Kevin Owens grabs just the Winged Eagle Championship? Cody Rhodes grabs just the undisputed WWE Championship. Could we get a continuation of that feud going into the Elimination Chamber? I think that would be something. Let me just put it that way. And then we got Jacob Fatu versus Braun Strowman. Now, I was right in predicting that Jacob Fatu would destroy Braun Strowman. I was wrong in the fact because I predicted that Jacob Fatu would destroy him and win the match. They ended up doing it where Jacob Fatu was just this insane cringe monster who kept delivering hip attacks over and over and over again to Braun Strowman. And Jacob Fatu is supposed to be the heel in this scenario, just like Brunson Reed when he got hugely over with the tsunamis last summer before suffering that injury inside Survivor Series, inside the War Games cage. Jacob Fatu over the Monster Among Men, the big SOB Braun Strowman, was getting cheered. And I think people see the potential of this wild Samoan werewolf, now the tribal werewolf, in Jacob Fatu. People hated the new bloodline. Solo Sikoa. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tommy Tonga Woa. But they always saw the potential in Jacob Fatu. They always roared when Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns went head to head, face to face. And I think that WWE has to be extremely careful here because in Jacob Fatu, who is supposed to be obviously this crazy, unpredictable, bad heel, if he does, excuse me, excuse me, if he does indeed turn on Solo Sikoa, he is going to get a massive babyface pop. So along with Tiffany Stratton, who is getting babyface reaction, especially when she turned on Nia Jax, and WWE is keeping her a heel, which I think could be a mistake. The question I have here is, are they making the same mistake with Jacob Fatu? Because arguably, next to Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, Rhea Ripley, Jacob Fatu is getting the most reactions in the company. And the funny thing is, Kevin Owens going up against a massive babyface in Cody Rhodes. Drew McIntyre went up against massive baby faces. CM Punk, even Seth Rollins now, who was sort of a tweener, going up against a massive baby face. CM Punk. Jacob Fatu going up against babyface Braun Strowman. All these guys that are supposed to be massive heels. Even Drew McIntyre going up against Roman Reigns. These guys, McIntyre, Rhodes, Fatu, Bronson Reed against Seth Rollins, they are getting cheered because the fans like Carnage, fans like realism, fans like the storylines these guys are going. Even in the main event, which was an incredible world championship match between Jey Uso and Gunther. The third time these two have met, they talked about way back when Jey Uso faced Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship, and then in the semifinals of the King of the Ring tournament back in May when these two squared off. Jey Uso, though, becoming a different type of wrestler since then. And Jey Uso's Yeet entrance is even more over now than it was 6 months ago. Yet here we are, Gunther showing respect to Jey Uso with everything he gives in the business. But with that spear and with that dive off the top rope from the Yeet man himself, I popped because I did think for one split second, and this is the best part about the wrestling business, is sometimes just when you think something is not going to happen, and then you get that false finish, that might be the greatest feeling in the business. When Jey Uso hit that spear and splash combo to Gunther, I and the crowd in San Antonio thought there was a chance the Yeet Man himself was going to become world champion, but obviously going up against the clock as the clock was striking 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Gunther was able to pick Jey Uso up, hit not one, but two power bombs for a grand total of three power bombs to as he hit Jey Uso earlier on the match for the power bomb that Jey kicked out of to retain the World Heavyweight Championship in a banger of a match, which I wish, to be honest with you, that the body would have been on the call for this match instead of the Intercontinental Championship match, because I would have loved to hear his thoughts on Jey Uso and the Yeeting, and I would have loved to hear his thoughts on the old school throwback that is the Ring General Gunther, which I thought it was a great line by Michael Cole on Saturday night, by the way, that Gunther does not believe in the entertainment aspect of the business. He only believes in the sport. Real quickly on Jacob Fatu, I forgot to mention that Michael Cole also said that Jacob Fatu was in prison 3 times before he was 18 years old, and when he got out, he decided to join the family wrestling business because he realized he could beat people up legally. That is getting a guy over. Just like, again, Gunther's character with Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, everything in the WWE revolving around the Roman Reigns son, essentially, even if Roman Reigns is not there. Gunther only cares about one thing: this sport and the World Heavyweight Championship. I think his character right now fits beautifully with that strap. And I do think Gunther will enter Las Vegas WrestleMania 41 on either April 19th or April 20th, World Heavyweight Champion.